Why did this man try to take his own life? Not once, but several times in a single day. Otto Anderson is a grumpy, rigid, and lonely widower who lives in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Since the loss of his beloved wife Sonia, Otto has become isolated and bitter, clinging to routines and rules, often frustrating his neighbors with his strict enforcement of community regulations. Just as Otto is preparing to end his life, his plans are interrupted by the arrival of a lively new family next door. Marisol, a spirited and warm-hearted woman from Mexico, refuses to be pushed away by Otto's coldness. Along with her husband and two daughters, she gradually breaks through his emotional walls. As Otto unwillingly gets pulled into helping his neighbors, with driving lessons, home repairs, babysitting, and even taking in a stray cat, he begins to reconnect with life, community, and his own buried compassion. Through flashbacks, we learn about Otto's deep love for his late wife, the hardships they faced, and how her loss left him feeling empty. But the relationships he forms with Marisol and the people around him help him rediscover purpose, kindness, and connection. In the end, Otto's life becomes meaningful again, not through grand gestures, but through small, consistent acts of care. His gruff exterior hides a deeply caring soul, and he quietly transforms the lives of those around him. Modern society tends to hide loneliness and loss rather than acknowledge them. We are encouraged to manage ourselves, control our emotions, and function efficiently within relationships, as if feelings were secondary to performance. But the film A Man Called Otto offers a quiet yet honest portrayal of a man whose life is slowly collapsing. And more importantly, it gently points us toward the psychological forces that make healing possible, human connection and meaning. Otto isn't just a grumpy neighbor. He is the portrait of a modern person living with unprocessed grief, social isolation, suicidal thoughts, and existential emptiness. Otto isn't just a cranky old man. His gruff tone, rigid attachment to rules, and sharp remarks toward neighbors, they're not just personality quirks. They're the hardened shell of grief that was never expressed, the frozen remains of love and loss. After losing his wife, Sonia, Otto was left with a gaping hole in his heart, but he didn't know how to mourn it. He didn't know how to speak it. So instead, he held himself together with rules and routines, as if breaking the pattern would unravel everything inside him. In psychology, this is what we call unresolved grief. A healthy grieving process allows us to gradually accept loss, feel the pain, and adapt to life without the person. But Otto, somewhere along the way, got stuck. His house is like a museum of the past. Her belongings remain untouched. The rooms are frozen in time, as if she might walk back in at any moment. By refusing to change anything, Otto holds on to the illusion that she's still there. His obsession with order isn't about neatness. It's his way of staying upright in a world that no longer makes sense. And Otto never says he's grieving. He doesn't cry. He doesn't say, "I'm hurting." Instead, he lashes out. He interferes with everything. He even plans his own death. That's the thing about buried emotions. They always find another way out. Otto's repeated suicide attempts aren't just about wanting to die. They're the outward expression of an inner emptiness, a sense that there's no reason to live anymore. Suicidology describes this as a combination of lost belonging and perceived burdensomeness. Otto feels like he belongs nowhere, that he is useful to no one. And yet, ironically, his attempts to die keep getting interrupted by a visiting neighbor, by a stray cat, by a child's cry. Each one is a small intrusion, each one a crack in the wall. They're inconvenient, they're unwanted, but they begin to stir something in him. Without realizing it, Otto starts to shift. He begins to let go, not of Sonia, but of the belief that life has nothing left to offer. He begins to look at people again. He begins to help. He begins quietly to connect. Otto isn't rude. He's someone who never got to mourn properly. He's warm at the core, but forgot how to show it. So he protected that soft center the only way he knew how, by shutting down. What this film teaches us is simple but profound. Healing starts when we're allowed to grieve. And it doesn't come from advice or logic or fixing. It comes from presence, from someone sitting beside you, from a neighbor who knocks on your door, from the quiet persistence of connection. That's what Marisol gave Otto. Not a solution, just kindness. And and that was enough to begin his return to life. Otto seemed like one of the toughest people around. He rarely spoke, kept his distance from neighbors, and demanded precision and rules in everything. But the truth is, people like that often have something soft hidden deep inside, something tender, something wounded. And for Otto, that part of him began to come alive again because of relationship. But the relationships that changed him weren't dramatic. They were quiet. A family next door that kept checking in, a child who knocked on his door without hesitation, a cat that sat on his porch and refused to leave. At first, Otto tried to push them all away. It's annoying. Why me? I don't care. But the heart is a strange thing. When it senses sincerity, even a little, a locked door begins to open, slowly, quietly from the inside. Marisol, the neighbor, was incredibly persistent. She kept talking to him, bringing him food, asking for help, even when he responded with grunts and silence. She didn't see Otto as someone to fix. She simply saw him as someone worth staying close to. That kind, unintentional persistence slowly melted Otto's guarded heart. Psychologist Carl Rogers once said that what a person needs most in order to heal is not advice or instruction, but empathy and unconditional acceptance. Otto didn't change because he was convinced. He changed because he was accepted. When someone sees you exactly as you are, without judgment, something inside begins to shift on its own. Otto still doesn't say much. His face often remains unreadable, but he helps his neighbors. He watches over the children. He fixes what's broken. He feeds the cat without saying a word. Otto was someone who expressed love through action. And when he helped others, his heart quietly began to heal. In the end, Otto didn't need to speak to make a difference. His presence, just being there, was a source of comfort and strength to the people around him. He wasn't a hero. He was something much rarer, a quiet connector. Otto showed us through his small, consistent actions that people don't need to be taught or pushed to change. They need to be accompanied. All of us can become Otto, isolated, closed off, hiding our grief. And all of us can also become a Marisol to someone else. Sometimes all it takes is a small relationship, a knock on the door, a warm meal, a quiet presence. Otto's story reminds us that one small connection might just be enough to bring a person back to life. Otto is the kind of person we've all seen before, the one who endures in silence, who keeps a distance from others, and finds safety in order and routine. On the outside, he seems fine, but deep down, he carries a heart full of unspoken grief. What makes this film special is that Otto isn't changed by some grand revelation. He's not transformed by a dramatic moment. He begins to heal through small, ordinary kindnesses, the warmth of a persistent neighbor, the repeated greetings of a nearby family, and the everyday moments of help exchanged without ceremony. We often think that only big changes can save a life, but Otto shows us clearly and gently that sometimes it's a quiet gesture, a warm presence, someone who simply stays, that can begin to pull someone back into life. And that message, it's something we deeply need in the world we're living in right now. So many people still carry pain in silence. They pretend to be fine. They push through, alone. But the truth is, we are all capable of being Otto, and just as capable of being someone's Marisol. The power to heal doesn't always come from therapy or technique. Sometimes it comes from being with someone, not fixing, not advising, just staying. When life becomes too heavy, even if we can't lift the burden, we can sit beside someone who's carrying it. And that alone might be the reason they keep going. Otto reminds us of this simple, profound truth. So now the question is, who is beside you? And perhaps more importantly, who do you want to be for someone else?